Welcome to the line-by-line explanation of Act 3, Scene 1 of Julius Caesar. So, first let's discuss what happens in this scene. So, in this scene, the conspirators accompany Caesar to the capital. And on the way, Artemidorus tries to warn Caesar, but Caesar pays no heed. And as the scene progresses, as per the plan, Casca stabs Caesar, followed by the other conspirators. Mark Antony extends his hand of friendship towards Brutus and the others, and he also expresses his desire to speak at the marketplace alongside Caesar's body. Though Cassius warns Brutus against Mark Antony, Brutus allows Antony, and Antony promises Caesar's body that he would avenge Caesar's death and make them pay for it dearly. I can't stress how important this scene is because in this scene, the assassination of Caesar takes place, and there are many important questions that could come in the examination. So, in this scene, there is Caesar and a crowd of people surrounding him. So, Caesar tells to the soothsayer, "The Ides of March have come, and yet nothing has happened to me." So, the soothsayer says, "Yes, Caesar, but it is not gone." Artemidorus says, "Hail Caesar, read this schedule," means read the scroll or the letter that I have for you. That is when Decius Brutus says, "Trebonius doth desire you to read at your best leisure this humble suit." So Decius says that Trebonius wants you to read this humble request at your leisure, when at your convenience. That is when Artemidorus says, "O Caesar, read mine first, for mine's a suit that touches Caesar nearer. Read it, great Caesar." So Artemidorus is insisting Caesar to read his letter first because it affects him directly. So here, if you remember, Artemidorus has written a letter to Caesar warning him against the conspirators. So Caesar says, "What touches us ourselves shall be last served. So if it is concerning me, then it shall be addressed last." So Artemidorus says, "Delay not, Caesar, read it instantly." So Caesar says, "What? Is the fellow mad?" So Publius says, "Sirrah, give place." That is, stand aside. So Cassius says, "What urge your petitioner in the street? Come to the capital." So why are you insisting on your petition on the streets? Come to the capital and then talk to Caesar. And Caesar goes forward and the rest follow him. Then Popilius tells to Cassius, "I wish your enterprise today may thrive. So I wish that whatever endeavor you have thought today will be a success." So Cassius says, "What enterprise, Popilius?" And Popilius says, "Fare you well, good luck," and he walks away. So Brutus comes and asks Cassius, "What did Popilius Lena say?" So Cassius said, "He wished today that our endeavor might thrive, or our enterprise might thrive. I fear our purpose is discovered." So this is the reason why Cassius insisted on an oath, and Brutus had spoken that we don't need an oath to bind us together. And because they did not take an oath, their purpose was discovered. So Brutus says, look how he makes to Caesar, mark him." He says he's approaching Caesar, keep an eye on him. So Cassius says, "Casca, be sudden, for we fear prevention." So Casca, be quick, because we fear any form of retaliation from others, because our purpose is known now. Brutus, what shall be done if this be known? Anyway, either Caesar will return alive or I will return alive. So either one of us will be dead. If not, I will kill myself. So Brutus says, "Cassius, be constant." That means stay strong. So Brutus says, "Popilius Lena is not talking about your purpose, because look, he is smiling and Caesar's expression has not changed. That is when Cassius says, Trebonius knows his time, for look you, Brutus, he draws Mark Antony out of the way. So Trebonius knows his time of what to do because he is taking Mark Antony away. Decius Brutus says, where is Metellus Cimber? Let him go and presently prefer his suit to Caesar. So prefer his suit means offer his petition to Caesar. Brutus says he is addressed, present near and second him. So go near and second to whatever he is saying. Cinna says, Casca, you're the first that rears your hand. He says, be the first to raise your hand. So Caesar says, are we all ready? What is now amiss that Caesar and his Senate must redress? So what is the problem that Caesar and his Senate members must resolve? Kneeling down, Metellus says, most high, most mighty, and most puissant Caesar. Puissant means powerful. So he says, Metellus Cimber is kneeling before you with a humble heart. So this part is important, so pay attention. So Caesar says, I must prevent you from doing that, Cimber. These crouchings and these lowly courtesies might fire the blood of ordinary men. So he's saying that these humble gestures of crouching low and these courteous bows might excite ordinary men and turn predetermined law into rules of children. Do not be foolish to think that Caesar has such rebellious blood that will melt from flattery, and such flattery can only melt fools with such sweet words. The low crooked courtesies and base spaniel fawning, so like bending low, and also the dog like begging, is not going to work on me. Your brother is banished by law. So he says, if you bend and pray and fawn for him, I spur thee like a cur out of my way. So he's saying, if you keep begging and bending so low for him, I will kick you like a dog out of my way. And he says, you should know this, that Caesar does not do anything wrong without any reason. Won't be satisfied. So Metellus says, is there no voice more worthy than my own to sound more sweetly in great Caesar's ear for the repealing of my banished brother? So he's saying, is there no voice that is more worthier than mine that will sound very sweet to Caesar's ear so that Caesar will cancel the permission of banishing my brother? So Brutus says, kneeling, I kiss thy hand, but not in flattery, Caesar. So he's saying, I'm kissing your hand, but not to flatter you. But I desire that Publius Cimber may immediately be removed from banishment. So Caesar says, what, Brutus? So Cassius kneels down and says, pardon, Caesar. Caesar, pardon. As low as thy foot that Cassius falls, I will fall at your feet and beg to enfranchisement for Publius Cimber, means to restore his citizenship and remove his banishment. So Caesar says, I could be well moved if I were as you. So if I was like you, I could also be easily be convinced. If I could pray to move, prayers would move me. So if I could beg others to change their mind, begging would convince me too. But I am as constant as the northern star, of whose true fixed and resting quality. So he's saying he is as constant as the northern star and he's fixed and he will not change. There is no fellow in the firmament. So he's saying in the sky there is no one who is as equal as him in the sky. The skies are painted with unnumbered sparks. So there are many stars or numerous stars in the sky, but nothing like him. So if you see here, Caesar is boasting about himself. He's blowing his own trumpet. They are all fire and everyone doth shine. So he's saying all the stars, they are made of fire and everyone shines, but there's but one in all that hold his place. So, but there is only one that holds its place. So in the world, it's furnished with well with men, and men are flesh and blood and apprehensive. So this world is populated with men, and men are made of flesh and blood, and apprehensive is they can easily be influenced or swayed. Yet in the number I do know but one, that unassailable hold on his rank, unshaken of motion, and that I am he. So he's saying, but I know one person who cannot be moved, cannot be influenced easily, and holds his rank unshaken of any moment, and I am that person. Let me a little show it even in this. So let me be constant and show that I was constant when Simba should be banished, and constant to remain to keep him so. So I want to show that I am not easily influenced and hold my position. So I want to keep him banished and maintain to do so, and not remove him from banishment. So Cinna kneels and says, O Caesar. So Caesar says, hence will thou lift up Olympus. So Olympus is a mountain. Would you try to do the impossible? So Decius Brutus kneels and says, Great Caesar. So Caesar says, doth not Brutus bootless kneel? So haven't I prevented Brutus begging from his knees? So Casca says, speak hands for me. So hands speak for me. And Casca strikes Caesar, and all the others rise up also and stab Caesar. So Caesar's last words were et tu Brute, means you too Brutus. And then Caesar falls. So here Caesar is actually shocked that Brutus, who is his very close friend, also betrayed him, and he dies. Cinna says, liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. Run, proclaim, cry it about in the streets. So Cinna is saying, we have got freedom. The tyranny is dead. Now go about in the streets and cry this out loud. So Cassius says, some run to the public platforms, that is common pulpits, and cry out liberty, freedom, and enfranchisement, means democracy. So Brutus says, people and senators, do not be afraid. Do not run away. Stand still. Ambition's debt is paid. So Caesar was highly ambitious, and for that he had to pay a price. But you people don't worry. So Casca says, go to the pulpit. Brutus, Decius says, and Cassius, you also go. Brutus says, but where's Publius? So Cinna says, he's quite confused with this mutiny that has taken place now. So Metellus says, let's all stand together, because what if some friend of Caesar should take a chance and take revenge on us? So Brutus says, talk not of standing, Publius. So he says, do not talk of just standing there. Publius, cheer up. There is no harm intended to you on purpose, nor to any other person or any other Roman. So tell them, Publius. So Cassius says, and leave us, Publius, lest that the people rushing on us should do your aid some mischief. So don't stand with us, Publius, because in case some people should come and storm at us, you should not get hurt because of that. And Brutus says, do so, and let no man abide this deed, but we the doers. So no one should suffer from this deed apart from us, because we are the perpetrators. Everyone exit except for the conspirators, and Trebonius enters. So Cassius asks, where is Antony? So Trebonius says, he has fled to his house, and he's shocked. Men, wives and children, they stare, they cry and run as if today was doomsday. So Brutus says, fates, we will know your pleasures. That we shall die, we know. It's but the time and drawing day out that men stand upon. He's telling fate, that we will know your will. We know that we are going to die, but we don't know when we are going to die. It's just a matter of days and we will all die. It's just prolonging our days that we are concerned with. So Casca says, he that cuts off 20 years of life cuts off so many years of actually fearing death or worrying about death. So Brutus says, grant that, and then death is definitely a benefit, it's an advantage. So we are actually Caesar's friend that have abridged, means shortened his time of actually fearing death. So we have done Caesar a favor. Stoop, Romans, stoop, and let us bathe our hands in Caesar's blood. So let us wash our hands in Caesar's blood up to our elbows, and let's besmear our swords also with blood. Then let's walk to the marketplaces and wave our red weapons over our heads. So let's wave our sword over our heads and let us cry peace, freedom, and liberty. So Cassius immediately follows what Brutus says and says, stoop then and wash. So let's bend and wash. So they smear their hands and swords with Caesar's blood. How many ages hence shall this our lofty scene be acted over? So he's saying that from how many years from now will this heroic scene be reenacted over and over again in states unborn? That means in even countries that don't exist now, and accents yet unknown, means even languages that have not yet discovered or made. Brutus says, how many times shall Caesar bleed in sports? So how many times shall Caesar bleed again and again for entertainment? Now that on Pompey's basis lies along. So he is now just lying below the statue of Pompey. No worthier than the dust, as worthy like a dust now. Cassius says, so oft as that shall be, so often shall the knot of us be called, the men that gave their country liberty. So often this is going to be replayed about our conspiracy, a group that we gave the country liberty and freedom. Decius says, what? Shall we forth? Shall we go? So Cassius says, hey, every man away. Brutus shall lead and we will grace his heel. Yes. So every man will go and Brutus will lead forward and we will follow him with grace, with the most boldest and best heart of Rome. So he's saying Brutus is the boldest and has the best heart of Rome. That is when a servant enters. So Brutus says, wait, who's coming here? A friend of Antony's? So the servant says, kneeling. Thus, Brutus, did my master bid me kneel. So my master has told me to kneel down. Thus did Mark Antony bid me fall down. So my master has instructed me to fall at your feet and tell you, and be prostrate means lie down. Thus he bade me say, and he has asked me to say, Brutus is noble, wise, valiant, and honest. So he's praising Brutus. And he's saying Caesar was mighty, bold, royal, and loving. Say I love Brutus and I honor him. So Mark Antony has told the servant to tell all of this, that he loves Brutus and honors him. Say I feared Caesar. So say that I was scared of Caesar and therefore I honored him and loved him. If Brutus will vouchsafe that Antony may safely come to him and be resolved. So he has told, if Brutus promises that Antony will be safe when he comes to him and be resolved how Caesar had deserved to lie in death, and prove or convince me how Caesar really deserved to die, Mark Antony shall not love Caesar dead so well as Brutus living. So he says that he will not love dead Caesar as much as he would love Brutus living, but will follow the fortunes and affairs of noble Brutus. So he's saying that he will follow the destiny of noble Brutus. So I hope so much is clear. Let's go forward. So Mark Antony says that if you convince me the reason why Caesar had to die, then I will follow with Brutus through all the difficulties of this unprecedented state with true faith. And this is what my master Antony says. So Brutus says, "Thy master is wise and a valiant Roman. I never thought of him worse, so I did not think of him of any less. Tell him, so please him come on to this place. So tell him to please come to this place. He shall be satisfied and by my honor depart untouched." So he will be convinced by the reasons that I give him, and I will explain everything to him, and he will not be hurt. So the servant says, "I'll fetch him presently. I will go get him now." And the servant exits. Brutus says, "I know that we shall have him well to friend." So Brutus says, "I know that he shall be a good friend." So this is another mistake that Brutus does, that is knowing the real intention of Antony. So if you remember before, Brutus has already committed two mistakes. One is not taking the oath, asking the Romans to not take the oath. And the second was not killing Mark Antony along with Caesar. And now not understanding the intentions of Mark Antony. So Cassius says, "I wish we may, but yet I have a mind that fears him much. I wish we could trust him as a good friend, but my mind is not allowing me to trust him. And my misgiving still falls truly to the purpose." So he's saying, my intuitions are telling me that there is something amiss, there is something wrong, and my intuitions are usually true. And Mark Antony enters. And Brutus says, "Here comes Antony. Welcome, Mark Antony." So this is an important part. So please listen carefully. Antony says, "O mighty Caesar, dost thou lie so low? Oh my God, mighty, powerful Caesar, why are you lying so low? Are all thy conquest, glories, triumphs, spoils shrunk to this little measure? So all your conquest and glories, have it reduced to such small size? Fare thee well," means farewell. "I know not, gentlemen, what you intend. Who else must be let blood?" I don't know, gentlemen, what your intentions are, and who else must bleed. Who else is ranked? So who else is of high rank who should die? If I myself, there is no honor so fit. So if I am included in that, then there is no hour which is perfect as Caesar's deaths are. So I don't think there is a perfect time for me to die than this time where Caesar has died, nor no instrument of half that worth as those swords made rich with the most noble blood of all this world. And no other instrument will be half the worthy to kill me than the sword that has become richer after killing the noblest blood in the world, which is Julius Caesar. "I do beseech you," means I beg you, "if you bear me hard," that is, if you are angry with me now, while your purpled hands do reek and smoke, fulfill your pleasure. So now, when your hands are still purple and reeking with the smell of blood, fulfill your pleasure of killing me if you intend to kill me. Live 1,000 years, I shall not find myself so apt to die. So even in 1,000 years, I shall not find a more apt time to die. No place will please me so, and no means of death. So no other place will make me happy, or no other means of death than this particular place where Caesar has died. So I've written down certain meanings of the word. You can take it down. As here by Caesar and by you cut off. So I would like to die here right beside Caesar. Me, that is kill me. The choice and master spirits of this age. So the chosen and leading spirits of this age. So Brutus says, "Oh Antony, beg not your death of us." Don't ask, don't beg for your death. "Thou now we must appear bloody and cruel." So when you see our hands full of blood, we might appear to be all bloody and cruel because of our hands and this our present act. "You see we do, yet you see but our hands, and this the bleeding business they have done. Our hearts you see not, they are pitiful. So he's saying that you see our hands all bloody, and you see our action that we have just done, and you find it is cruel. But you are only seeing our hands and you are not seeing our heart, which is all pitiful. And pity for the general wrong of Rome. So, wrong had been done to Rome, and therefore, as fire drives out fire, so pity, pity. Yes. So, just like how fire is driven out by fire itself, so pity had to be removed through pity, and that is why we had to do it to Caesar, hath done this deed on Caesar. So Brutus is justifying, saying we might look all brutal and cruel to you, but we are not. We had done for the betterment of Rome. For your part, to you our swords have leaden points. So for you, our swords are not sharp anymore. They have blunt edges. Brutus is saying our arms have not done the act out of malice or any bad intention, and our hearts are tempered like brother, and we want to receive you with all kind of love, good thoughts, and reverence. So Brutus is asking Antony to join them. And Cassius says, your voice shall be as strong as any man's in the disposing of new dignitaries. So you will be as important as anyone in giving out new responsibilities to the government. So Brutus says, only be patient till we have appeased the multitude beside themselves with fear. So he's saying, please be patient until we have calmed the masses, because they are filled with fear. And then I will tell you the cause of why the person who loved Caesar so much had to stab him and had to take this action against him. So Antony says, I do not doubt your wisdom. Let each man render me his bloody hand. So let's shake hands. First, Marcus Brutus, I will shake your hand. Next, Caius Cassius, I take your hand. Now, Decius Brutus, yours. Now, yours, Metellus, yours, Cinna, and my valiant Casca. Yours, though last, not least in love. Yours, good Trebonius. Gentlemen all, alas, what shall I say? My credit now stands on slippery grounds. The one of two bad ways you must conceit me. So Antony says, my reputation now stands on such slippery ground. My reputation is gone because you will consider me in one of these two bad ways, which is either as a coward who has come to you now, or as a flatterer. I did love thee, Caesar, it is true. If then thy spirit look upon us now, shall it not grieve thee dearer than thy death? So, if now Caesar's spirit look upon us now, won't it feel so bad than its own death to see that Mark Antony is making peace and shaking his hands with those people who were his enemies, which is foes? Most noble, in the presence of your dead body, had I as many eyes as thou hast wounds. So, if I had as many eyes as the wounds on your body, weeping as fast as thy stream forth thy blood. So, I wish I could cry as fast as the blood that is coming out of these wounds. It would become me better than to close in terms of friendship with thy enemies. So he's saying it would suit to be better to be Caesar's friend than to be friends with your enemy. He says, pardon me, Julius, you were trapped, O brave heart. Here did you fall, and here thy hunters stand. So he's calling the conspirators hunted, signed in their spoil and crimsoned in thy leath. So he's saying, marked by your spoil and stained by your death. O world, thou wast the forest of this heart, and this indeed, O world, the heart of thee. So he was saying, you were the forest of this heart, and this indeed, O world, was the heart of you. How like a deer strucken by many princes dost thou lie here. So you have been like a deer that is struck by these princes and you lie here lifeless. So Cassius says, Mark Antony, and Antony says, pardon me, case Cassius, the enemies of Caesar shall say this. Then, in a friend, this is just a modest thing to say. When I was a friend, enemies would say this, but for a friend to say, it is quite modest to say that. It is quite moderate to say that. So Cassius says, I blame you not for praising Caesar, but what compact mean you to have with us? So he says, I have no problem for you to praise Caesar, but what agreement do you have with us? Will you be pricked in number of our friends, or shall we on and not depend on you? So shall we count you as a friend, or shall we go on not depending on you? Antony says, therefore I took your hand, but was indeed swayed from the point by looking down at Caesar. He says, I took your hand because I want to be friends with you. But sorry, I got distracted by looking down at Caesar. Friends am I with you all and love you all. So I am all your friend and I love you all. Upon this hope that you shall give me reason. So I am your friend and I will love you, but depends on the hope that you will give me proper reason why and why Caesar was dangerous. So Brutus says, or else this was a brutal scene, that is a savage spectacle. So he says, our reasons to kill Caesar are full of good regard. That were you, Antony, the son of Caesar, you shall be satisfied. So we have such good reasons to kill Caesar that even if you were the son of Caesar, you would be satisfied with our reason. Then Antony says, that's all I seek, that's all that I want. Please allow me to speak in the marketplace alongside the body of Caesar. So Brutus says, you shall, Mark Antony. This is the next big mistake that Brutus does, allowing Mark Antony to talk alongside Caesar's body in the marketplace, because that is how Mark Antony convinces all the people that Brutus and all the conspirators are traitors. So Cassius says, Brutus, I want a word with you. And when he's alone with Brutus, he says, you know not what you do. Do not consent. Do not allow him to speak. Do not allow Antony to speak in the funeral. Know you how much the people may be moved? Do you know how well the people can get convinced by what he will say? So Brutus says, by your pardon, that means with your permission, I will first speak in the pulpit myself and I will give proper reasons for why Caesar died. And so I will announce that only he speaks because of our permission and by our conviction that Caesar should have all the rites and rituals that a person should have. So that will show that we are not bad and it will be more of advantages to us than do us wrong. So Cassius tells to Brutus, I don't know what may fall upon us, but I do not like it. And the intuition of Cassius is exactly true. Now Brutus says, Mark Antony here. So take Caesar's body. You can take Caesar's body, but in your funeral speech, you cannot blame us. But speak all good that you can think of Caesar and say that you're speaking with our permission. Else shall you not have any hand at all about this funeral. So only if you agree upon these things that you shall not blame us and you can speak good of Caesar, but you're saying that with our permission, only then we will allow you to do it. And you shall speak in the same pulpit where I am going after I have said my speech. Antony says, be it so, I desire no more. Then Brutus says, prepare the body then and follow us. Everyone exit except for Antony. And now is Antony's soliloquy. This is again a very important piece. So listen to it carefully. Oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth. So he's looking at Caesar and saying, oh, I'm sorry, you wounded piece of earth, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers of yours who have cut open you, so who have murdered you, that I am so gentle and nice with them. Thou art the ruins of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times. So you are the remains of the noblest man who has ever lived in this time. Woe to the hands that shed this costly blood. So let sorrow come upon on the hands that shed this costly blood. Over thy wounds now I do prophecy. So he's saying, over your wounds now I'm going to make a prophecy. And he's saying that the wounds look like mouths and they open their ruby lips, begging for a voice. And now he is becoming a voice to these wounds, and he's saying that a curse shall light upon the men who have killed Caesar, and there is going to be domestic anger and civil war in every part of Italy. He says blood and destruction is going to be so common, and dreadful objects are going to be so familiar that mothers will smile when their infants are cut during war or killed during war. All pity choked with custom of fell deeds. So all compassion will be choked by the habit of these cruel deeds. And Caesar's spirit raging for revenge with eight. Now, eight is the Greek goddess for destruction. So, Caesar, along with the Greek goddess of destruction, will come hot from hell and shall in these confines with a monarch's voice. There's going to cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. So, they're going to unleash the dogs of war, that this foul deed shall smell about the earth. So he says that Julius Caesar, along with the goddess of destruction, are going to come from hell and they're going to unleash the dogs of war. And this foul or this bad deed shall smell about the earth with men crying for burial. So these rotting men are going to cry for burial. That is when Octavius' servant enter. So he says, you serve Octavius Caesar, do you not? So the servant says, I do, Mark Antony. Then Antony says, Caesar did write for him to come to Rome. So the servant says, he did receive his letter and is coming. And he asked me to tell you this, that. And then the servant looks at the deceased body of Caesar and says, oh Caesar. So Antony says, your heart is big. So Antony says, your heart is swelling with grief. So get thee apart and weep, means go ahead and cry. Passion I see is catching for my eyes, seeing those beads of sorrow stand in thine began to water. So he's saying that my eyes have also begun to fill looking at your eyes. So it is passion, that is the sadness is contagious and I also feel like crying. So is thy master coming? So the servant says he lies tonight within 7 leagues of Rome. So he is within 21 miles of Rome. So Antony says, go back quickly and tell him what has happened. Here is a mourning Rome and a very dangerous Rome. It is not safe for Octavius yet to come. Hence, and tell him so. Stay a while. So stay away for a while. Thou shalt not back till I have borne this corpse into the marketplace. Go and tell him to wait, and you will not leave until I have taken this body to the marketplace. There I shall try in my oration how the people take the cruel issue of these bloody men. So I am going to try to find the reaction of the people of the violent act that these men have done. According to that, you shall tell young Octavius the state of things, and now help me. And they exit with Caesar's body. So this is the end of Act 3, Scene 1. There are many important questions here. So please go through this over and over again. All the very best and study well. Thank you so much.